technical difficulties, but we'll start with the reading. Okay. God's Ideal Family, the Model for World Peace, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon. Dublin, Ireland, November 4, 2005. That is the United Nations whose efforts for peace are offered to heaven, investing itself ceaselessly and living for the sake of others. To commemorate this day in its fullness, I am declaring a message from God to humanity in this age. It is entitled God's Ideal Family, the Model for World Peace. Respected world leaders, what do you think is God's ultimate purpose of creating human beings? Simply put, it is to experience joy through relating with ideal families filled with true love. What does an ideal family look like first? Each person in the family is an owner of true love. When God first created human beings, he made Adam representing all men and Eve representing all women with the intention that they become owners of true love. The quickest way for them to cultivate a character of true love was to secure a child relationship with God, whereby they could live in attendance to God as their Father. They were to follow the path of living as one family with God. I invite you to enter into a mystical state and prayerfully ask God what is the center of the universe. I'm sure that the answer you hear will be the parent-child relationship. Nothing is more important or more precious than the relationship between parent and child. This is because it defines the fundamental relationship between the Creator God and the human beings. Then what defines the parent-child relationship? 3 things define this relationship: love, life, and lineage. Without our parents' love as a precondition, none of us would be alive. Today, God created human beings out of his absolute love in order to be his partners in love. This relationship forms an axis of love, linking God, the Father, with human beings as his sons and daughters. Is there anything higher or more precious than to be a son or a daughter of God? If there is anything higher, then surely human desire would aspire to attain it, but there is nothing higher. Do you think that when the omniscient and almighty God created Adam and Eve, he secretly reserved the highest position for himself and made Adam and Eve to be the only second best? We cannot imagine that God would do that to his children, to his partners who share absolute love with him. As our eternal true parent, God invested himself 100% into the creation of human beings and endowed us with the right to have equal status with him, to participate in his work as equals, to live with him, and to inherit from him bestowed upon human beings. All of his attributes. True God is absolute being. He cannot be happy alone. That was reading, and I'll invite my dad, Colm, up for the service. So, yeah.
Thank you, Aisling. Yeah, so God cannot live alone. God needs his children. So I was just reflecting over the past week since Reverend Dunkley's service. I don't know how many people saw Reverend Dunkley's 3-hour what would you call it? Sermon on the Mount, Sermon in the Valley, tour de force. It was quite remarkable. So many takeaways. It'll take more than a week to actually try to percolate all the takeaways from it. I feel particularly the week that we've had. But yeah, and coming up to the 20th anniversary of True Parents' visit in 2005. This was a very precious time for Ireland, I guess, for in history, you know, with the True Parents coming together, the first and only time ever, True Father speaking in the Gresham. And yeah, so a lot of things going on at the same time as I kind of was reflecting on what to say today. And the title was A Simple Faith. And this isn't an effort at false humility. This is just something that actually a good friend brother said to me once, when, you know, we were having all these theological controversies, and he just kind of said, pleaded to me or to God or to everybody, just, I wish I could just have a simple faith. You know, I didn't have to worry about all the, and actually last weekend as I was coming down for the Peace Road, I was very stressed out, as I am every year. Myself and my good lady, every year we're very stressed out when the time of the year, wondering is how's it going to go, and especially the weather. I never worried about the weather before, but last week for the first time I started to add that to my list of worries, because I'd heard the forecast wasn't going to be good. So yeah, it was like it was testing my faith, to say the least. Every day is a trial of faith. You know, this is going back to the title again, simple faith. You know, I don't know how you guys, brothers and sisters, are, but I guess you're probably not that different, in the sense that we all go through our trials of faith in different ways at different times, and sometimes it's daily, and we have to be born again every day. Uh, so as God, you know, as a parent, as a heavenly parent, somehow, even if you're 30 years in the church or more, speaking for myself at least, I can't say I have this absolute faith and belief in God. But lo and behold, as I drove down the M3, the sun was shining. There wasn't a cloud in the sky for the first half an hour anyway, until maybe from Virginia down to the first toll. I think there wasn't a cloud in the sky. So it was like God was laughing at me, you know. Another brother used to say, man makes plans while God laughs. I can't remember the exact quote, but yeah, it was like, this is the least of your worries, God was saying. Yeah, so that kind of, immediately when I saw the blue sky, I thought, oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. So, of course, the reason I mentioned Reverend Dunkley's 3-hour YouTube presentation, performance, speech, sermon, whatever you want to call it, is because, of course, our true mother has been detained, incarcerated, to use that word, which Aisling thought meant something else last night when I mentioned it. What did she think it was? Something even more excruciating, I think. Um, incinerated, I think she thought I said. So yeah, no, it's of course different emotions and feelings come across in all our brothers and sisters in our community uh, about this, and some of us are blaming ourselves, and others are blaming the usual suspects of let's call them the hard left or the communists. I don't know. I was reading this book. It's called The Children of Cain by Barbara Grabner. I don't know if anyone knows Barbara Grabner from Slovakia, Austrian sister. And it's quite an amazing book, actually. I was putting it off till I'd finished my studies, and because when you're studying, you can't really read for pleasure, unfortunately. I don't like reading anyway, generally. I used to like it, but since so much good TV on all the streamers these days, and YouTube as well, it can be hard to actually focus on reading, sit down and reading for especially for pleasure. I don't know. I didn't look like much. It would be much pleasure. The Children of Cain, but actually, when I got into it, and it's a short book, it was actually very insightful, and then also hopeful at the end, because of course we know that there's so many conflicts in the world today. But the main ones, I think, in most people's minds, at least in this part of the world, are Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Palestine situation, war, genocide, famine, whatever you want to call it. Even putting a term on it is a political act in some ways. So, yeah, when True Father came in 2005, I just wanted to show a few slides, not too many. It's okay. We don't really need to see them. I don't want to spend another 5 minutes trying to resuscitate my PowerPoint and my computer. See if it works. Just turned off now, is it? I'm sleeping. Not plugged in. The this. Yeah. Anyway, So one of the True Father spoke for 4.5 hours. It kind of reminded me when Reverend Dunkley spoke for 3 hours. He started off. He was in Belvedere, I think it was, and it's still called the Belvedere International Training Center. I've never been there. I'd love to be there sometime. And he started off talking about how True Father, are you ready? Have you all come here to hear a nice? I hope you haven't come here, he says, to listen to a nice 10-minute inspirational talk. He says he'd be very disappointed because he was going to go and talk for 3 hours. It was actually called Songs of Freedom. Interesting title. I know last week we had, for me, one of the highlights of our event, Peace Road event, was that song, Songs of Freedom from Bob Marley, which Bernard very nicely played. And it was coincidentally at the same time in America, the title of that service was Songs of Freedom. So I thought that was interesting that song somehow was in the mix or in the spiritual atmosphere. Because it is, for me anyway, I like it. It's a beautiful song. But so they had, he was after coming back from Korea, right after, I believe, just that day, and he was flying back the next day to Korea. So, like, that's quite remarkable in itself that he was able to speak for 3 hours, given that he'd just come off presumably more than 10-hour flight. I don't know how long it takes to get from the States to Korea. You probably go the other way around the world, but it's probably 10 hours at least, maybe more. And he was about to embark on another one on the way, back over. And I know in Korea they're doing prayer vigils every day. If anyone listened to Mike Balkin this morning on the prayer call or caught the Vimeo, he was talking about this, like what are we doing in Korea and how are we working to resolve the situation with True Mother, or what's our response, and what's True Mother saying actually, what's she saying, asking us to do. And over the last year or two, 3 years since the Abe assassination, of course, we've been deeply upset and wondering how can we help in Japan? How can we help situation of our movement? How can we build an alliance with other people, alert them to the fact that we're being persecuted, and does anyone care, because we are still, unfortunately, worldwide, a bit of a small fringe group. So unlike in the time of Christ, this Christians today, they study about the time of Jesus, and they were also a small fringe group and unpopular, and this led to Jesus's crucifixion, of course. And although, of course, within the context of the Roman Empire, he was crucified for being a seditionist. This was the official reason why he was crucified, not because he was claiming to be Christ, because the Romans had no concept of Christ. They didn't care what religion you had, or they had their own gods. But of course, we know that the people prepared at the time did not accept him and did not protect him. So True Father suffered similar situations 6 times. I think he was incarcerated. And now True Mother is going this course at the moment. I don't know, is it a week now or six nights or 7 nights that she's been in detention? So while we can, and she's asked us actually, according to Reverend Dunkley, not even to pray for her, not to be going around with sad faces even, because that's not a very appealing look for, the alliances that we want to build, for the public we want to educate, for the journalists and politicians we want to alert to this situation. And yeah, we can say it is or it isn't about religious freedom. We can say it's a political problem. It's not just our True Mother and our church. Actually, it's democracy itself in Korea is under threat. It's a very fragile thing, and Reverend Dunkley does a good job of explaining all the context. Actually, I feel of Korea over the last 40 years, the last couple of years, and for me, it was very insightful to reflect on that, from a layman's perspective, because he's not a an academic as such, or he's not. Of course, he's a good understanding of true parents and our theology, being a national leader of America. But I think from a layman's perspective, the man on the street, he's able to understand the situation of True Mother and Korea, and the pressure that Korea is under now from China, especially as we've seen in Japan has already in a sense fallen. Church is already in the process of being dismantled officially as a and that's very sad. But these are the trials that the Christians had to go through. These are the trials that looks like we have to go through. So we have two choices after we finish all our recriminations and beating ourselves and all that sort of stuff. We can, and accusing other people, then we can protest, or we can ask for forgiveness for Korea, for ourselves, for mankind, for the way that True Mother, for the course that she has to go. So there's those two things. We can protest, or we can somehow try to ask for forgiveness, like True Mother has asked us to do. Forgive, love, and trust. Trust in our leaders, even trust in Mike Balcon. Mike Balcon this morning actually was, I felt his tone was very much agreeing with Shin Nim and True Mother, and asking that we have faith in True Mother and faith in him as well as our continental director. That we, of course, we're angry as well. Yeah, we want to protest. I was very much in favor of that even before True Mother was imprisoned. I still think there's a place for that, maybe not for this particular issue, but I think if we had done that for at the embassies on a European level, not so much here in Ireland because our embassy isn't even on the main road. You wouldn't even see it if there was a group of people there. But for Paris and London, and I think if we had mobilized for those embassies, a couple of hundred people, or half the people who went to Munich last year, if they had showed up, or even a quarter outside the embassies once a month, it might have made a difference to the Japan situation, because we know that Japan is very sensitive to international opinion. And I don't know about Korea, maybe not so much Korea. They seem to be really existential in the threat there from communism and from China, from the CCP. Even people coming in through the borders, Chinese, I wouldn't even call them, I suppose, agents, but yeah, trying to subvert local elections and things like that. So in a sense, it's hard to believe what's going on there, that it's reached such a crisis point. And reflecting back on 20 years ago, it seems insignificant, to look at what happened in Ireland 20 years ago compared to those events that are happening today. And actually, the point I wanted to say about the Christians was they're like going through the classics in terms of, if you were to consider it watching a movie or watching videos or watching a TV show, they're going through the classics, the Bible and the story of Jesus and Jesus's life and Jesus's mission and Christianity. But we're actually involved in reality TV here, if you want to compare. This is happening every day here. It's happening actually in our lifetime. In our when we wake up, there's new breaking news about the providence. We're living at this time of the parallel time to the disciples and the followers of Jesus and the people that he was trying to reach. And of course, we're well used to this, I suppose, the elder members, because we lived through. We were lucky to live through a life of True Father for so many years. He was speaking in Belvedere for 4 hours or 5 hours or 12 hours. And this is a point that Reverend Dunkley made. His one was relatively short. How many people would have spent 12, 14, I don't know what's the longest True Father spoke in the New York or in Belvedere or wherever, but he did many times, did more than 10 hours, and people would have been crouched in the lotus position and bursting for the loo and whatnot, I think it's bad down here on a Sunday morning when you're doing the dance to get into the loo. I'm sure it was even worse listening to True Father back in the heyday of his mission when, you know, people were able to witness him speaking every week, sometimes every day, for hours every day. Yeah. Got a little taste of it when during my life, but nothing compared to elder members. So they know the heart of God and the heart of true parents. And to see True Mother going through the same, I mean, she's been through it with Father before, you know. I know that this is where she's incarcerated apparently, and members outside doing the prayer vigil, which is great to see. And I know that she's not alone. You know, I know True Father is with her, and True Father's own course, as we know, especially more recently in Danbury, was she was there with him all the time, and she was able to feel the pain, I suppose, of the rejection, and True Father turned that into an incredible victory. And I'm sure True Mother will do the same. How long it will take, I don't know. And I just, I know that we were very lucky 20 years ago to have True Parents come here to speak to us just around the corner. And the conditions that allowed this nation to receive True Parents, even for just a day or a weekend, was on the foundation of the work of the HSA UWC, the Family Federation, since its inception here, since the first missionaries came in 1969, I think it was. And we have been carrying that legacy here, people in this room and people on Zoom. We have been trying to be the disciples of our true parents in Ireland, and how we behave and how we treat each other and how we, I guess, step up to the mark and fulfill our responsibility, which we do, you know. I think we do. Of course, we can always say there's things we can do better, but on the whole, we're still here. We're the people that are here, the people who are watching. We're still trying to fulfill the ideal that God has asked us to fulfill, which in the speech that Aisling read at the start there, that's the speech that True Father gave in the official speech. Of course, he departed from it many times, which is why it was so long. But essentially, that was the core text, that he was God's ideal family, the model for world peace. That's, you know, that hasn't changed. That's still the template. And True Parents have taken us so far on this journey and will continue to guide us and to lead us. True Father from Spurwell and True Mother hopefully will soon be able to do that from Jungpyeong, not from a detention center. But we saw the way that the Providence was drastically stepped up and moved to another level when True Father, after the Danbury period. And I hope and pray that the same thing can happen when True Mother comes out of the detention center in Korea. But her concern is not for herself or even for our church. Her concern is for Korea. Some people were saying, "Oh, well, she can get a rest now. She's a sick lady. She can get a rest. Are you joking me? In prison? Can you imagine how stressed out she would be? Not for herself, but for Korea, for democracy, for the implications of this for her, for the Providence, you know." So I think she's right. We need to pray for Korea, pray for the world, and pray for Ireland. This is where we are. This is our mission country, and we're all doing what we can to survive, I suppose, mentally, spiritually, physically, to keep going, because we are the ones who are representing. We're God's representatives. You know, we should be, and we want to be. Maybe we don't always, I'm speaking for myself, feel like we are worthy or capable, especially capable of bringing VIPs or even just ordinary people to the truth, you know, because I've tried to reach out to the few VIPs, politicians and media people that I have on WhatsApp. You know, it's usually the quickest way to reach somebody, unless you call physically to them and alert them. The ones that I know will maybe, I won't say care, but care enough to listen to me about what I'm saying about the situation in Korea, you know, or at least pay some sort of lip service to me, you know. So I think, looking at the 20 years later and where are we now? Have we built something substantial after True Parents visit in our lives and in our missions? It's been a struggle, and but still we have a foundation. And what was done 20 years ago, particularly I want to pay tribute to Howard and Patricia, um, for being able to make that foundation on the day, on the weekend. But it's on the foundation of all the sacrifice and investment and Hyojong, the heart of members. This place here is the same, yeah. Our families, our brothers and sisters who inspired us in the past, who made the foundation. So I think we have a very beautiful and important legacy to protect and to build on. We can beat ourselves up about not having enough foundation. And Reverend Balcom said this morning in the Vimeo, the prayer call. He said, well, maybe if we had more foundation, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, maybe it's true. But again, the first movements or churches to be targeted in such a kind of putsch like that, or a, what would you call it, a cull, are the more unpopular ones. And unfortunately, we still are very unpopular. In the future, maybe not, we won't be so unpopular. And maybe there's reasons we need to reflect on ourselves. That's true in our leadership. And he's asked us to trust in him, I suppose. In contrast to Reverend Dunkley, who wants to mobilize the brothers and sisters from America to Korea for the summit in the Asia Pacific summit at the end of next month. He wants the elder brother nation of America, all the brothers and sisters, to go and welcome Donald Trump and wave American flags and pictures of True Mother. Now, maybe he was inspired at the time he gave that service and that direction, but I'm not sure if it's the thing that Europeans want to do. I think I was ready to go. I was ready to send Danny anyway, at least. So and she was ready to go. I don't mind going, but someone has to pay the bills and the breadwinner. So yeah, I mean, I was ready to go support the elder brother nation, even if and holding my nose to hold up a picture of an American flag and Trump, whatever. If it means that we're helping our true mother, then I'm happy to support the elder brother nation. But I felt with this morning, Dr. Balcom was saying, he specifically mentioned Reverend Dunkley, and the implication being that he wasn't really up for that, which was interesting. So yeah, America's a proud nation, and they think as the elder brother nation, maybe they have a different responsibility. Maybe they do. Maybe it's not the same responsibility as Europe or even Ireland, you know. But there is a protest, there is a culture of protest in Korea. So there is a danger too that you go over there waving your American flag, especially if you're European. Or maybe a European flag would sit more easily with me. Whatever about pictures of Donald Trump, pictures of True Mother with a European flag, or True Parents with a European flag, or an Irish flag, or both, might sit more easily personally with me. But whatever the ask is. But then he went on to talk about Reverend Dunkley, the special mission, which is actually in Hannam-dong. They want to set up shop in Hannam-dong, himself and Korean leaders, to welcome ambassadors to Korea and important people from abroad, maybe even for that summit. And any of you who've been to Hannam-dong, been privileged to go there, Tenko and myself and John were there during and also some other Robin Marsh and a few other people. It's now a peace embassy. It's True Parents' house in Korea, and it's in the embassy district. It's a former Swedish embassy, and I think True Father lived there for about 20 years, maybe around that time. Maybe more actually, maybe even before, when they were in Korea. Of course, they spent a lot of time in America. probably Belvedere. But in Korea, Hannam-dong, and it's a beautiful district in the mountain, kind of in the suburbs, but up a little bit on the mountain. You can see all the city from there, and you really feel True Parent spirit when you're in there. And I don't know, was reading this morning, or was it from the Vimeo that Reverend Balcom was? No, it was actually Damien Dunkley, I think. He noticed this chair outside where your mother used to do her makeup. I guess it was her bathroom, and she used to prepare herself and do her makeup. Outside there was a chair there, kind of out of place in the hallway. And he was wondering, what's that chair? What's that chair for? Like, it's a bit odd having that chair there. And he found out that True Father used to sit there and have his breakfast while he'd be waiting for True Mother, actually, to finish putting on her makeup and stuff. And he'd read his communications paper, whatever stuff he had to prepare for the day, True Father. So I heard in recent years True Mother had put a chair beside that chair in Hannam-dong. So in a sense, communicating with True Father or wanting to feel closer to him. And so I was struck by that image of her sitting beside True Father and how deeply in love actually they were. And this doesn't come across in any of much of the communications recently, and I felt it was nice to hear that sort of from Dr. Dunkley, from Reverend Dunkley. So to hear that message, and I'm going to finish with there's a short couple of points, takeaways that I have myself, and I just wanted to say that I think we don't have to worry about True Mother because True Father is with her. That's what I wanted to say, actually. Whether it's the detention center or whatever she's doing, I think he's residing with her very much. To their one person or one being or one entity, the True Parents. That gives me great comfort and great joy. And this time will pass, and I know that God will make a victory out of it. And this simple faith that I'm trying to, like, simple in the sense that I don't have to be questioning. I don't need intellectual rationalization for everything. God is there. God loves me. God is my parent. I don't have to overthink it. I don't have to complicate it. I'm not saying blind faith where everything is like, I don't have to think about it or I don't have to use my brain. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a trust and a love in God as you would your parents. God is our parent. No, but it should be a real thing, you know. It's not always real, unfortunately, the situation of fallen man, because we can't see God with our physical eyes. But when we see True Parents, I feel this is the closest thing in the human form that we can experience God. So I'm just going to read this short 2 slides, if you bear with me, and then I'll close with a prayer. So these are my takeaways from the value of True Parents in heaven's providence. Number 1, that God's ideal of True Parents originated from heavenly parents' shimjung, or heart. 2, that those who realize the ideal of the True Parents together with heavenly parent are born as direct sons and daughters of heavenly parent. Heavenly parent with a character grounded in love. Number 3, the heavenly parent's ideal of True Parents is realized through human beings successfully completing their growing period. 4, that heavenly parent's ideal of True Parents is realized only when the only begotten son and the only begotten daughter who have completed their growing period become a couple and form a family centered on heavenly parents' love. And finally, number 5, my 5th takeaway, the most basic unit in the global community is the family, which is the place where the heavenly parents' 4 major realms of heart and love can be experienced: the love of children, the love of siblings, conjugal love, and parental love. And one thing I wanted to show actually was this video of True Father 20 years ago. I'm sure you've all seen it already. but maybe I'll leave it for another day, or we can have a celebration on the 4th of November or around that time. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, we thank you that we can be gathered as a community here in Ireland that represent our true parents, and that you have lifted us up from all the people that are potentially much more worthy than us to follow this course, or to be the ones to welcome your son and your daughter into this world, our precious and beloved true parents. We pray that we can continue our mission here in Ireland and throughout the world as in our mission to become examples of our true parents, and to even go further than our true parents and try to create and build on their legacy, and to show the world and to show the nation the wonder of their heart and their love that has initiated so many projects, but most importantly, that has given the world a blessing, that has the greatest instrument for world peace ever, Heavenly Parent, has been the world peace blessing, where you have matched couples from enemy nations in many cases together. And you know that through your heavenly lineage, eventually encircling the whole earth, that there can be a real profound change in the way that your children can be relating to each other, that there can be, in the future, Heavenly Parent, no more war. And we pray at this time that we can support our precious and beloved true mother, and that we can give her strength through our determination to save our nations and to build ideal families. We know we've fallen short, and we know that you have patience with us as a parent, and that you forgive us, and that you're always there to support us. And many times we feel lost, and we feel that you're not there, or that we lose faith. Help us to make those times shorter and less frequent, and to make the times when you are living with us, we're experiencing your Holy Spirit, more frequent, and that we can attend you and our true parents in the ways that you have expect us to, and that you have called us to, and that we are privileged to be able to do. And we thank you for our precious true parents, and we pray for true Father in heaven and true Mother on earth, that we can support them now at this time and understand our own responsibilities and our own abilities and shortcomings as well, and work together, and to be united, Heavenly Parent, to support you and to support our leadership, Dr. Balcom at this time, and Mr. and Mrs. Balcom, Mike and Fumiko, and all our national leader, Eli and Vicky, and our national messiahs, and all our each other, to support each other as brothers and sisters. Heavenly Parent, please help us to do that, and to offer and pray and report all these things in my name, Colm of the O'Kelly blessed family, which is a blessed central family, attending Holy Mother Anne, our Jew.